Kinsey. Let's start with the royals. Page 6 is reporting that Meghan Markle felt humiliated on Prince Harry's most recent UK trip and that the trip turned into a nightmare, forcing Markle and her children to return home to California earlier than they had hoped. Kinsey, it's also been reported that Markle's frustrations came from the couple not receiving taxpayer-funded security and not being allowed to stay at Buckingham Palace.
And her husband lost big in court. No one wants to be seen on the arm of a loser. I think that this trip was a reality check. Harry has spent years insisting he can be half in and half out of the monarchy, and the British public just reminded him that isn't how it works. And if you look at the media that was generated while he was there, for the most part, he was rejected. And the nightmare wasn't just the trip, it was discovering that the privilege of royalty, doesn't automatically survive after you quit your job.
It doesn't. And that was, I thought, the reaction. It wasn't hostility, it wasn't hate from the British public, it was just disinterest, which I think they probably despise more than anything because they want attention.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today's story has reignited one of the biggest debates surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle since they stepped back as working royals. Reports claim Meghan felt humiliated during the family's recent visit to the United Kingdom after the Sussexes were reportedly denied taxpayer-funded security and were unable to stay at Buckingham Palace. Sky News Australia host Rita Panahi didn't hold back, arguing that the episode highlights the consequences of the couple's own decisions. So today, we're taking a closer look at what these reports actually say, what they might mean, and why many royal watchers believe this situation was entirely predictable. When Harry and Meghan announced they were stepping down as senior working royals in 2020, they emphasized that they wanted greater independence while building a new life in North America. But independence also meant giving up many of the privileges attached to being working members of the monarchy. Since then, disputes over security, accommodation, and royal status have become recurring themes. Recent reports suggest Meghan felt embarrassed after learning that the family would not receive publicly funded police protection, and that plans involving royal accommodation changed during the visit. For many observers, however, this isn't a surprising development. Critics argue that stepping away from royal duties while expecting the same institutional support creates conflicting expectations. In any organization, leaving a role usually means relinquishing the benefits associated with it. Supporters of the royal family contend that the same principle applies here. One criticism repeatedly raised by commentators is that the Sussexes appear to want the prestige of royal connections without accepting all the consequences of their decision to leave official duties. Rita Panahi's commentary reflects a broader sentiment among some royal commentators. If the reports are accurate, disappointment over security or accommodation may stem from expectations that no longer align with the couple's current status. That doesn't necessarily mean Meghan's feelings weren't genuine. Anyone can feel disappointed when plans don't unfold as expected. But critics argue there's an important distinction between feeling disappointed and believing one is entitled to benefits that are reserved for working royals. From this perspective, the issue isn't whether Meghan felt humiliated, it's whether those expectations were realistic in the first place. Another challenge facing the Sussexes is public perception. Over the past several years, Harry and Meghan have spoken openly about their disagreements with the royal family through interviews, documentaries, and Harry's memoir. While many people sympathized with parts of their story, others felt the repeated public airing of private family disputes weakened goodwill. Against that backdrop, reports of frustration over palace accommodation or publicly funded security may not generate the sympathy the couple hoped for. Critics argue that after repeatedly distancing themselves from the institution, it's difficult to persuade the public that the institution should continue extending special privileges. Whether fair or not, perception matters, and many believe the Sussexes are now confronting the practical consequences of choices they made years ago. While media attention often centers on Harry and Meghan, the working royal family continues carrying out hundreds of official engagements each year. King Charles III, Queen Camilla, the Prince and Princess of Wales, and other senior royals remain focused on constitutional duties, charitable work, and public service. That contrast has become increasingly noticeable. Stories about the Sussexes frequently revolve around legal disputes, security arrangements, media interviews, or family disagreements. By comparison, the royal family's public messaging generally emphasizes continuity and service. Critics argue this difference explains why many people increasingly view the monarchy as focused on its responsibilities, while the Sussexes remain caught in recurring personal controversies. It's worth asking whether this situation might have unfolded differently. Had Harry and Meghan maintained a quieter relationship with the institution after stepping back, some believe there could have been greater trust and more flexibility over time. Instead, years of highly public disagreements appear to have deepened divisions on both sides. If the recent reports are accurate, Meghan's feelings of humiliation may be less about one particular visit and more about recognizing how much has changed since leaving royal life. Rebuilding trust is rarely quick, especially after years of public conflict. Whether reconciliation is still possible remains uncertain, but it would almost certainly require patience, realistic expectations, and a willingness from everyone involved to move beyond past grievances. Ultimately, this story isn't simply about security or palace accommodation. It's about expectations, accountability, and the lasting consequences of major life decisions. If Harry and Meghan chose a different path, it's understandable that they would no longer receive every privilege associated with their former roles. At the same time, personal disappointment doesn't necessarily mean those decisions by the institution were unjustified. As always, these reports rely in part on unnamed sources and should be viewed with appropriate caution. Regardless of where viewers stand, the debate continues because it raises broader questions about duty, privilege, and the realities of life after stepping away from the royal family. What do you think? Did Meghan have reasonable expectations, or are these simply the inevitable consequences of leaving royal duties? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this balanced royal commentary, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest discussions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.